Welcome, everybody, to the Friday Flow. This is episode 5. Will, how you doing?
Whew, pretty good, especially with that lounge music.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Also, I forgot to mention that lounge music is actually AI lounge music. This system
Ooh.
we use, it's so they avoid licensing. It just always makes random new lounge music. Pretty sweet. A lot of things to cover today. I say we just jump right in. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. As usual, we start off with some form of AI art, AI imagery. This time it's make a video. Meta is coming out with the same thing that we've seen recently, where you text to image. Now it's text to video, which we've talked about in the past and have heard about it being insanely complicated and hard to create, which it probably is. They have a little research paper here. I'm not going to show you that, but what do you want to make? What's going to be your first video?
Yeah, obviously something that's fluffy and nice, just like this. I did notice that everything on this website is really like fluffy and kind. It's like
That is true.
very like, yeah,
A
I don't know,
teddy
it's
bear
different to
painting a portrait.
most of the other sites are a little bit more evil and inspired. I guess that's kind of cool.
That's pretty sweet.
But yeah, no, it's very exciting. We talked about this, I guess, at the first time when we said that images are cool, but video is going to be super cool. Yeah, a whole host of deep fake issues and things like that. But it's great to see it. We can't access this. It's not like DALL-E 2 or Stable Fusion or something. You can't use it right now, but they do have a Google form that you can sign up for something. I don't know why they're using Google, but there you go.
Well, I'm going to continue the flow with AI art, and I'm going to switch it up to text to image editor. This one is a variant of what I've always had in the past here, where you just kind of type in what you want to see, except this one is to edit existing art. And I made an example. That one's pretty sweet, a little dog face. I like that. But I made an example here. So here's my picture. And
we know this one well. LinkedIn.
Yes, it's my LinkedIn picture. I think actually, a little Crunchbase picture. And if I go to, let me go to my history. I said, just make me with pink hair. It had some really weird, like, words. I don't know why, but this is what it produced for me from that picture. Pretty sweet. I also noticed it added arms, and I'm wearing black jeans, which is not in the picture, which is kind of cool, but. And I'm not really sure what's going on in this background, but it was.
Is that really you? I think they took your face and they really took some liberties with that. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely the bottom of my face, and then they just probably added a guy who already had.
They saw the eyebrows and they were like, "These aren't real eyebrows. I got to give it real."
Ooh, that's what I should do next. I should do something just on my eyebrows, or like remove my eyebrows. That'd be pretty next level. Next up, we have some pretty sci-fi stuff. A lot of you guys have heard about this. The NASA Armageddon. What is NASA Armageddon? This is an anti-asteroid satellite. It successfully smashed into a space rock. Obviously, the space rock didn't actually pose any threat to us. It's more of an experiment, but I definitely watched in real time on the news. Just I had to see it. It was pretty intense. Did you catch it?
Yeah, I kind of caught up afterwards, and I saw this GIF that NASA sent, which was super awesome. They sped up the first frames, and then the last like 100 frames are actually what it was capturing, because it was covering like, I think it was going like 14,000 kilometers a second or something insane like that. So super cool to see what it did. I think they're going to take a few weeks, right, to check if it changed the direction of it. But
yeah. I heard on the news, when I watched the news, it said 12 hours, which seemed ridiculous. And then I heard a couple weeks, and now I heard it's going to take a few months. So it might take a few months to actually determine if it truly went off orbit, which is obviously the objective, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think it's super cool though in space that you can be so accurate I think it's because of vacuum, but like, math is really cool, right? That you can figure out all these crazy things. Like that was whatever 14 million miles away, and we like hit it within like a couple inches of where they're targeting. Like that's insane. We can't predict like when it's gonna be foggy in San Francisco, but we can predict how to hit that thing out of the sky. So I don't know. They need smarter minds on the weather or something. Something's not right there. Something's off. Sus.
Yeah, pretty nuts. I like that. Math is cool. Words of wisdom. Next up, Flatfile raised $50 million. For those of you who don't know, Flatfile, not technically a competitor of Woflow, but sort of in the same space as this is a quote from them. Data exchange and onboarding the data of new customers in particular can take thousands of hours to complete as data is collected, cleaned, and moved from one business to another. If that doesn't sound familiar to all you Woflowers, I don't know what does. But they don't work necessarily with catalogs. It's mostly CSV files. Actually, I believe it's only CSV files. But pretty interesting space, and obviously huge interest from investors because the space is huge.
Yeah, I think data cleansing in general. We talked about it as our mission, right? Structuring the world's unstructured data. This is taking semi-structured data and cleaning it using AI. So I think they've got some super cool parts of their system. Definitely overlap in terms of features and ways that we approach things. But yeah, they mostly focus on helping say onboard a customer list, right? So you've got 100 users for your app. You can download them from Salesforce. You can import them easily into your application, things like that. So super cool. It's great to see the investor interest in this company. They've now raised nearly 100 million, which is pretty insane. I think they're doing about 5 million in ARR. So a real nice markup for them. Well done, Flatfile.
Good for you, Flatfile. I'm just going to poke real quick over to this page. I found this week on Product Hunt. This is literally the same thing as Flatfile. I can't really find one true difference, but I just wanted to point this out that this has launched coincidentally the same week that Flatfile has announced their $50 million raise. So this is obviously a space, right? And I looked up some of these, the founders of this company. They come from great companies. I forget which ones, maybe Google and Facebook, I assume. Mostly Fang. But, a lot of people are building into this. This is becoming more and more needed throughout the world. So just wanted to point this one out as well. Next up, this one was really interesting to me, Versify. We talk a little bit about NFTs on this show. This one is allowing, I would almost say democratizing the usage of NFTs for companies. So I want to give an example of what Woflow could use Versify for. It's a way to mint and manage digital collectibles at scale. Digital collectibles meaning NFTs. So we could essentially have a system where, workforce, if they hit X number of words a minute, X number of menus, whatever it may be, they get rewarded this digital collectible that you only mint 100 of them or something. And so this kind of allows you to manage that whole system. I don't know if that's kind of somewhere we want to go, but it's definitely somewhere a lot of companies are trying to get to. And this allows them to do that without kind of spinning up their entire own infrastructure for it.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think community incentivization, gamification of applications, things like that, NFTs definitely have a potential use case there. So building a platform for that makes a ton of sense. It's interesting.
Yeah, I liked it. I just realized we are truly speeding along in today's Friday flow. We have gotten feedback that it's a little long, and so we've tried to chop down the amount of content and also how long we talk about each thing. So trying to keep it under 20 minutes.
Talking about how long it is.
Well, now I have time. We have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes left, and I only have 2 more pieces of content. So we can make these a little lengthy. I like it.
Ooh.
I like it. This one was very, very different. So Soul Robotics, they are taking a different approach to autonomous vehicles. When I read this the first time, I had to kind of reread this. I assumed I knew what they were talking about, but instead of equipping the cars with all the technology needed to drive through the streets, Soul is taking the streets and equipping them to allow the cars to drive through them. So the sensors and everything are actually in the streets. So it's essentially creating the infrastructure, recreating the infrastructure of the roads to allow for autonomous vehicles to use them. Very cool. It obviously limits where these cars can go, but it was kind of an interesting, I guess, an experiment. I don't know. I kind of forget how successful it's doing, but yeah, it's an interesting experiment, I'd say.
Two things. Are they from Korea with a name like Seoul? I think that's pretty cool. No?
I believe it is in Seoul.
Oh, that's
Could be
cool.
wrong. Let's see.
And I guess, secondly, I think it's interesting. I hate when people use the word contrarian. So when I saw that in the title, I thought, oh, get over yourself. But it just means taking a different approach, like the opposite approach. It is interesting the way that we think about building a lot of automation in today's world is how does it work with today's infrastructure? And this is the opposite, right? This is building infrastructure. Like how should, if you didn't have cars at all existing, how would you build an automated way of driving? And so when we think of what we do and Rails and data infrastructure, it makes a lot of sense, right? So maybe this is going to be more important once you get through the first version of sort of automating cars and getting them driving. But then, in the future, when you build a new city, I don't know if we're building new cities. I think like China's building a ton of new cities, but I don't know, many other places are actually building physically new cities. Maybe in the Middle East in some places. But, thinking through what new cities should be like, there's a lot of interesting governments and also in companies, like thinking of what would the future look like. And, so it is interesting. There's an application there. It might be, I'd say it's way too early. I think the way that most other people are taking it is probably the correct way right now. But if you thought of what the world should look like, if we were going from horses to autonomous cars, this might be a better approach. So interesting that someone's doing it and is figuring out how to get some money to do it as well.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting. I have a kind of analogous version of this that you and I talk about a lot, Will, and that's for convenience, for quick convenience and grocery. You always talk about how there's a lot of dark stores that are being created, right? It's like they're building the infrastructure on top of what already exists, versus companies like, typical delivery companies, DoorDash and Uber, that are using the infrastructure that already exists and building into them, right? So like being able to deliver from the bodega down the street and building into that infrastructure, as opposed to building a dark store that is your own logistics center to distribute from there. It's kind of analogous in a sense.
I like that analogy.
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad you like it, Will, because you always talk about it. We only have one final story for this week, and it's on Soda Health, who we know very well. They have announced their $25 million raise, and to simplify benefits. Well, I'll let you talk.
Yeah, shout out to Robbie and Jared on this one. We met them during our Stanford course. The guys of Soda Health are truly inspirational. They both come from Walmart. They saw a real problem that was being exposed there when it comes to Medicare, Medicaid, people actually being able to utilize their benefits. And so they built this product within Walmart's infrastructure that would allow people on Medicare and Medicaid to get access to benefits, meaning, if they've got some sort of food credit voucher or something like that for healthy food, you could use it in Walmart, and you swipe in the POS at Walmart, and then it knows that it can deduct it from this card, similar to like an on-demand FSA or HSA type of purchase, but for wider benefits. They realize that it's such a huge market, and it's such a big problem across the entire industry. And so what isn't good about being stuck inside someone like a juggernaut like Walmart is that you want to democratize this across all of the POS companies, all of the stores. So not just a big box retailer or a grocery store, but thousands of them that exist around the country. So it's a huge play. That's why they've raised a lot of money very early on. They are the guys to do this because they've seen it and how intricate it can be, and they're going for it. And I think it's a kind of, I'd say, it's a play not dissimilar to Woflow in that they go after very large customers. So this works with the Albertsons of the world and with the Walmarts of the world, obviously. So again, huge sales cycles, lead times, all that kind of stuff. Big enterprise plays, working with the big POS companies like Toshiba as well. But also, they need a lot of catalog data. They need a lot of clean data, because the way that it works is actually when you swipe your card at the point of sale, it needs a very quick, I forget what they told us, but a very quick lead time to finding out whether or not this item is valid for this benefit. And that needs to happen within a sort of a fraction of a second. And so you need a very quick API, and that's what they deliver for these POS companies. But that needs to be ran with lots of hardcore data. So really excited for these guys. We're talking to them. We're hoping that we can help them get the clean data that they need. But awesome to see them coming out of their stealth, so to speak, with their big lofty check. Who were their backers again? Was it Sequoia? I forget.
I don't remember.
But they're awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I agree, and yeah, I was actually gonna say also, when we found out what they were doing, we felt like, okay, this is awesome. And then as they were explaining more and more about their technology, we were like, oh, wow, this is actually, you too could actually be a customer of Woflow, as some of the products that we are focusing on is taking essentially receipt data. So data that you can't it's not structured. You can't tell exactly what the product is from the line item, but that is something that we are working on. To be able to match that type of unstructured data to a true product. And so technically they could become a customer of ours, where we are able to give them real time, be able to tell them exactly what that product is with no ambiguity. So they can know 100% that this product does apply to that benefit. So we thought that was a pretty interesting out of nowhere use case for one of our future products. Well, that'll do it. Will.
I got a quick edit. I've got an edit. Ooh, it was Lightspeed.
Lightspeed.
That led their round. So shout out
Good edit.
Lightspeed for getting in there.
Good edit. Cool. We're under the 20 minutes. First time yet. Very, very big accomplishment for us. Thank you, Will, and thank you everybody for watching this Friday Flow. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.